pain is relative. You know, some people break their leg and say it's the most excruciating pain, and other guys get blown up and lose a leg and say it wasn't that bad. It's hard for me to really gauge how much pain is so much pain, but it was definitely the most tremendously debilitating pain I've ever had. For 6 months, I spent my mornings crawling to the sink to brush my teeth. I would get ready laying on the ground, like pulling up my pants on the ground, because I could not bend over without just having a flare-up that would cause me for hours not to be able to move. The unit I was in was carrying out a lot of raids against high-value targets in Iraq, and I was the point man in our element that was hitting the building. And I was a young whippersnapper and was really excited to go do this raid. I'd never done one before. Made entry into the building, and I kind of get ahead of the team more so than what was standard operating procedure. And I hit the stair. I don't remember anything. The guys behind me said that a suicide bomber had clacked off his vest inside that building on that second floor, and the blast blew me off the stairs and smacked me into the wall behind me, knocking me unconscious, cracking my Kevlar, and I came to and I was already being dragged back to a Humvee to get medevaced.
This is Chris. Chris's dad is a doctor and a colleague of mine. They came to my office together 3.5 years ago. He said his low back pain was constant and excruciating. He said his quality of life was in a downward spiral. His MRI showed that his L4, L5 intervertebral disc was badly dehydrated. All the VA could offer him was narcotic pain medications until he was ready to have his lumbar spine fused, but they encouraged him to put that off as long as possible. You see, as soon as you do the first fusion, you have to do additional fusions every 5 years or so. They wanted me to inject stem cells directly into his dehydrated lumbar disc. Now, if I were to stop there, what do you think I said to him? Some of you might be thinking I said, "I'm sorry, Chris, I wish I could help you, but we're just not there yet. There's a lot of great minds working on this, but there's still a lot of work to be done, and you'll just have to wait." Others might be thinking I said, "Here's an application to be a participant in our study. First, you have to pass the strict inclusion-exclusion criteria. I must tell you, Chris, if you're enrolled, you might end up receiving placebo." And still others might be thinking I said, "Absolutely, we can treat you, Chris, at my offshore clinic in the Caribbean." Why is it when we think of stem cells in the United States, our mind immediately jumps to obstacles? Well, for the answer to that question, all you have to do is look at the history of stem cell medicine in this country. First, all the talk was about embryonic stem cells. Well, it can be argued that an embryo is in fact a human life, so there's a very real ethical obstacle. Then all the buzz was about how scientists had successfully created a stem cell in a laboratory by taking a skin cell and replacing the DNA with that of a human egg. This is called an induced pluripotent stem cell.
This is the medical diploma of my great-great-grandfather, 1848, University of Georgia. He's the only other doctor in the family. And this is actually a picture of him. He looks like a real barrel of laughs, Dr. Wynn. These I bought from a street artist in Vietnam. I thought they were appropriate for the X-ray room because this is the before and that's the after.
Is art something you're passionate about? Does that come from your dad?
Well, it's the family business. My dad's a New York City art dealer, and both my brothers and my sister went into the family business. I didn't have the skill set for it, so I went into medicine instead. I've been doing regenerative medicine full-time for nearly 20 years. I've been doing stem cell medicine for almost 10 years. Did my undergraduate work at McGill University in Montreal, Canada, and it was largely because I wanted to learn to speak French. I didn't want to live in France for 4 years. And then from there, I planned on going into the family business. My dad's an art dealer, and I thought I was going to be an art dealer. And I very quickly discovered that I did not have the skill set to go into that line of work because I'm actually pretty socially awkward and I'm terrible at schmoozing. I moved to Boulder, Colorado and lived out of my car and was rock climbing full time, and I actually became sick with sort of like a mono or something. And I was seeing this chiropractor, and I don't think he really helped me that much, but I loved what he did. And I looked at him and I said, I want to do what you do. And then I went into a period of deciding between conventional MD school or chiropractic school. And that's when I found out about naturopathic medicine. There was an ad for the Southwest College of Naturopathic Medicine in Yoga Journal, and it listed the 6 philosophical tenets of naturopathic philosophy. And I immediately fell in love with it. When I was at naturopathic school, I was 25 years old, I was in excellent health, and I was training for my dream trip to France, the birthplace of modern sport climbing. And I was doing this hard cross-through move in the gym, and I heard this revolting pop in my shoulder. And I thought, oh man, that's not good. So I went and saw a surgeon, and he told me that I had torn the cartilage in my shoulder. I'd torn the labrum. He said, well, I can put a scope in there, I can cut away that piece of torn cartilage. It'll probably help you in the short term, but it's going to give you problems later in life. But I was in naturopathic school, and the central philosophy of naturopathic medicine is using the body's natural ability to heal itself. There had to be a way that I could kickstart my own body's healing response.
The Board of Naturopathic Medicine here and are holding up, the social perspective. If you're not out there...
I found out about Rick Marinelli, and Rick was the first naturopathic physician to do prolotherapy. He started doing prolotherapy in the early 1980s. And he did prolotherapy on my shoulder, and it resulted in a complete cure. And that was it. My life path unfolded before me. My first 6 years of regenerative medicine practice was prolotherapy, and that's all I did. Very simple, very straightforward. And I thought really that that was what the rest of my career was going to be.
This is Laura. Laura is a NASA materials engineer. I'd helped Laura's damaged knee quite a bit with the new biologic version of prolotherapy, platelet-rich plasma, the use of growth factors from a patient's own blood. In 2009, Laura handed me a stack of scientific articles on the use of bone marrow stem cells for the treatment of arthritis, mostly animal studies. She wanted me to inject stem cells into her knee.
And I said, Laura, I don't do that. I don't know how to do that.
I'd heard of it, but I didn't know how to aspirate bone marrow. I told her I had a friend in St. Louis who did it. She could go to him. She said, I don't want your friend to do it. I want you to do it. I said, but Laura, I don't know how. She said, so?
Learn. So I, thought about it, and I started calling around. There were very few people in the United States doing it at that time. And I found a surgeon who was willing to teach me how to do a bone marrow aspiration. And it worked so well that I knew that's all I wanted to do. Then one of my dear patients, Gary Young, I had been helping him for a number of years, but he still had this midline pain worse bending forward. And I came to realize that, I'd been helping his sort of generalized low back pain, but that pain that he was having in the middle was his disc. He was having disc pain. And I said, Gary, you need stem cells injected into your disc. And he said, okay.
The problem was, injecting discs requires X-ray guidance, and I only did ultrasound guidance. I suggested to Gary that he'd go to a friend of mine in Texas who did X-ray guided injection of stem cells.
I said, I don't want your friend to do it. I want you to do it. I said, no, Gary, you don't understand. I don't know how to do that. See, in order to do that, you have to use X-ray guidance. It's very complex to perform. You need a lot of specialized equipment and a lot of specialized training. And he said, okay. I said, Gary, I'm a naturopath. Do you know how much criticism I'll get if I start doing X-ray guided injection? I'll be the first. And he looked at me and he said, have you Googled Gary Young lately? I mean, here's a guy who built a $1.5 billion corporation with his bare hands against all odds. And here I was complaining to him about people criticizing me. And I realized how ridiculous I sounded. And he leaned across, and I'll never forget it, and he said to me, what are you afraid of? I opened Doceri Clinics in 2002 here in Utah. And from day one, my practice has been 100% regenerative injection therapy for the treatment of musculoskeletal pain.
Great, that's perfect.
Dr. Adelson treats patients differently. He treats them all as individuals and he cares about all of them. Definitely very driven. He has goals for himself for the next 5 years and for his patients, and he doesn't accept anything less than your best performance.
So we're going to put stem cells in these most vulnerable areas of the entire length of the spine.
I heard about Dr. Adelson while I was in school because he's really the, as far as regenerative medicine is concerned, he's the best in our profession. And I would go to different seminars and everybody would have a little clip of him. He's like the Michael Jordan of regenerative medicine.
Harry is very unique. This is one of the things that he does very differently is, he will do the whole entire body. And being a chiropractor in the past, you can't, doing one segment of your spine, it would help. But I believe, doing all the segments in your spine, that's actually what I did. I think that is transformative, and that's one of the things that makes Harry very different.
Now, we have stem cells in every tissue in our body, and in all of the joints are very rich in stem cells. In bone, cartilage, ligaments, synovial fluid, fat pads, there's loads of stem cells in our joints. In normal circumstances, when you have injury, when you have just wear and tear, those stem cells, the first thing they do is control the inflammation. They reduce the inflammation so it doesn't get out of control. Then they release proteins to signal the damaged tissue to repair themselves. When you have healing after injury, it's a stem cell mediated event. When I started doing stem cell therapy in 2010, there were maybe 10 people in the United States doing it. Very few people had even heard of it, and I had to mostly travel abroad to learn from the people who'd been doing it the longest. There were no courses offered, there was nothing in the literature, there was certainly nothing how-to. I spent half of each year traveling around all through Central and South America, learning from these people, learning how they did it. They each did it their own way, and then coming up with my own sort of golden ratio of how I do things.
Harry, he has an extraordinary mind, but he's also fearless and will go literally to the ends of the earth to get the answers that he needs. When it comes to regenerative medicine, the naturopathic doctors were among the first to embrace first prolotherapy, then platelet-rich plasma, and then stem cell therapy. At every step of the way, Harry was one of the leaders in the naturopathic profession. I have suffered from low back pain for 40 years. I tried, different modalities, acupuncture, chiropractic, manipulation. As president of a naturopathic medical school, it kind of behooved me to see what was being done at the cutting edge, and Dr. Adelson was always one of those people.
When more damage is done than your stem cells can repair, chronic pain develops. So what we do here, we take stem cells from your bone marrow, we take stem cells from your fat, we concentrate the stem cells from the bone marrow, we isolate the stem cells from the fat, and inject them into the joint, thereby repopulating the joint with stem cells and allowing your body to once again heal itself.
I remember my treatment very distinctly. It was a Wednesday afternoon in December of 2014, and my whole treatment went from 3 to 5 p.m. And it was probably 75% better by Friday. Getting back on my bike was wonderful. It's pretty common for people to have back pain. And so if someone tells me about back pain, I'm evangelical about stem cell therapy as opposed to opioids or drugs. And certainly compared to surgery.
Now here may be America's best hope for a medal in this event. Holly Flanders, who has come back from injuries at a 12th at Megève 3 weeks ago, currently 10th on the World Cup downhill standings, but she's been better than that in the past. 1 year, she finished second, and this course may be suited to her, Cindy.
It's very good for Holly. As you can see up here, she holds a good position. She's quite aerodynamic, and she also is a good glider. Holly has worked hard on her turns. If Holly skis them well, she has a good chance. Let's see what happens.
Realistically, you have to believe that this is Holly Flanders' last chance for an Olympic medal.
Oh, I think so. I think she's going to try and give it everything she has. She looks a little stiff, though, and, well, a little offline. Let's see how she pulls it off down here.
As you look at Holly Flanders, you begin to appreciate the fluidity of Figini as she came through that top part of the course.
For 10 years, I raced World Cup downhills. 2 Olympics, 2 World Championships. I won 3 World Cups, 2 national championships. I think it was 27 top 10 finishes in World Cup downhills. By the time I was 22, 23 years old, I wasn't able to run anymore. When I was racing downhill, I was, sustaining G-forces that were, quite high and torquing my knees, but also carrying 70-pound backpacks and running around the mountains, going up and down mountains, and my knees were a problem.
Flanders is well off of it. She'll have to make up a lot of time in the bottom part.
Come on, Holly, get over these bumps. She's one of the best gliders on the World Cup, and she has good speed on her feet. She stays low in her position.
The doctors said pretty much, we can't do anything more for you. You'll just have to put up with the pain. I had seen one of the top orthopedic surgeons in the world, and he took some x-rays of my knees, and he said, well, you have some issues in your knees, but you do have cartilage, and there's really nothing we could do for you right now.
People respect doctors very much. They have so much knowledge. They've studied in school forever. They have amazing credentials, and so we go into them and think what they say must determine my life. And I think what moved me past believing exactly what they said was just the fact that I wanted to move so badly. Dancing was my ultimate joy. It was how I spent all of my time. My goal was to be a professional dancer and to definitely study dance in college. I had high hopes of being professional. So I developed low back pain that started as a dull ache, and that pain increased to sharp pains in the bone, a pinching sensation, and like tingling and shooting pains down my leg. I had to give up the dancing, which was heartbreaking, and I remember my director had said at the time, take a 6-week break. And I thought, how am I ever gonna do that? And it's been, it turned out to be many years. It was hard for me to walk from class to class in high school. We were worried about whether I'd be able to graduate. And many people were saying, well, how about you use a wheelchair? And I said, absolutely not. But yeah, it was very debilitating, extremely debilitating.
I have chondromalacia and arthritis under my kneecaps. I still have cartilage, but they hurt all the time. I felt like I needed to ski gingerly, like I was skiing on eggshells. And after a bike ride, it didn't feel very good. It was definitely impacting my quality of life because I love hiking, I love trail running, and I haven't been able to do that. And skiing, I just have to be careful with the thought that I was making my knees worse. And each year they were getting a little worse.
After seeing many doctors, we finally fell upon this one doctor that diagnosed me with arthritis, and I was 17. He gave me 2 options. He said, really, at this point, we can do a pain management program where you're taking heavy-duty medications and you'll probably become addicted to them and be on them for the rest of your life, or we can burn the nerve so that you don't feel anything at all. And those were my 2 options, and he was pretty confident that I would never dance again.
When I heard about Dr. Adelson, I heard about him from a friend of mine who had her neck treated with stem cells. And she used to be really stiff in her neck, but now she was able to move her neck, and that was from a mountain biking accident. And I'm like, what? I called Dr. Adelson's office the next day and booked an appointment.
I'm a big fan of Holly's. I actually think I had a poster of her in my bedroom when I was in the 10th grade, back when she was winning World Cups. And when she came to me, you know, her knees were pretty beat up from a lifetime of heavy skiing and bump skiing and all kinds of skiing. And her low back and neck were fairly beat up too from those crashes.
I had read about stem cells and I knew there was something special there. I figured that there was no risk except for that the stem cells might not work.
Working on our side was that she's incredibly healthy. She's in great health. I think the reason, you know, why I have such consistently good results is because I'm very careful who I treat. This treatment works very well for people who are in reasonably good health and have tissue degeneration, either from injury or from overuse. If someone is in poor health to begin with, this therapy isn't going to work very well. It's really dependent on your own healing response. Your health is really determined largely by the activity and the function of your own stem cells.
When I met Harry, Dr. Adelson, his perspective is so different. He understands an athlete or an artist's desire to move. And when you meet with him, he doesn't tell you, you're not going to be able to. He talks about the possibilities and says, what can we do to make this better? If not better, reach your goal.
Maggie came to me when she was 17 years old, and it's unusual for me to get people that young. Chronic pain syndromes are unusual in that population. It doesn't happen that often, but it does happen. And she was being told all sorts of things. She was being told that the pain was in her head. She was being told she was hysterical. And you know, when we really dug down and got to the root of her injury, you know, I mean, this was sort of just a typical musculoskeletal low back pain case. She had damage to her SI ligament. She had damage to one of her intervertebral discs in her lumbar spine. And over a period of a couple of years, we treated her and a great outcome with her.
It was incredible, just drastic healing so quickly. After the second procedure, I just sat up one morning and was sitting in my bed, Indian style, and it was just so easy to move my hips. And I could do the splits again, I could start stretching, do a little bit of light yoga, and now I can easily open up my legs into a first position, second position, fourth or fifth position. I can do pliés slowly and controlled without feeling any pain or having any popping in my hip.
Started slow, like a tree grows out in the open. These things don't grow over nights long and get old in the morning. Nothing more can make it speed up.
I felt that the worst thing was that they wouldn't work and it had cost me some money, but the results have been amazing.
She was sort of the perfect candidate for stem cell therapy. We injected her knees, we injected her low back, we injected her neck.
Within a few months, my knees were much better. I went to Harry again about a year later, and he used bone marrow and adipose tissue, which is fat. And he mixed them together, and that really brought my knees to where they're really good.
Yeah, the thing about stem cells is it makes your body heal itself, which is amazing. And I'm really excited for, you know, the future of stem cell technology. I'm so excited for that.
Afterwards, he'll often print out an x-ray for you to take a look at, and I find this really fascinating because you can actually see where the needles are going in, and that's like a very validating feeling to know that he's getting deep down inside there and injecting stem cells or whatever needs to go in there to heal the injured areas.
The feeling of skiing down the mountain and getting into the rhythm back and forth, and feeling the wind on your face, the sun, and the sound of your skis in the snow, there is no feeling like it. It's unbelievable. And to be able to do that without worrying about pain, it's just incredible.
It may seem strange that a naturopath is standing before a room of surgeons talking about spinal interventions. If you are among those who find that surprising, I can assure you that no one is more surprised by it than I am myself. I never would have guessed the direction that I would have taken in my career.
As new therapies and modalities emerge in medicine, it's often on the fringe. It's often people who are seeking new ways of dealing with things. It's often people who are willing to take risks. And I think Carrie is a very conservative but very professional doctor who has explored sort of the outer reaches of what's possible.
I've injected close to 800 intervertebral discs with stem cells, and I've done over 1,500 epidural injections with stem cells. So first and foremost, I've done a ton of these.
Low back pain is the leading cause of disability worldwide. The economic impact globally of low back pain is greater than cancer and heart disease combined. See, low back pain doesn't kill you, but we know that one of the main predictors of longevity is a purpose in life. Well, if your purpose in life in any way involves the use of your body, disability from chronic pain runs the very real risk of robbing you of your purpose.
My friends told me about Harry and doing the stem cell, and I thought, wow, that sounds great, anti-aging. But my real motivation for me was I had been in a car accident 2 years ago and had chronic neck pain. I've had about 5 or 6 concussions in my life, and I've heard that this is really good for that as well. After the car accident, I've been seeing a chiropractor quite a bit, and after every session I would feel, okay, taller, and it would go away in a day.
The first thing to understand is the difference between microscopic and macroscopic pain generators. You see, MRI is a very useful tool, but most of the information that it gives us actually is not useful at all. In fact, it just serves as a distractor often.
If you look at MRIs of asymptomatic patients, people with no low back pain, people who never had low back pain, around 60% of those people will have abnormalities on MRI.
15% of them will have abnormalities so significant that if they had corresponding symptoms,
which there are not, they would be candidates for immediate surgery.
The majority of low back pain falls under the category of non-specific low back pain. What that means is the radiographic findings do not correlate with the clinical picture.
Hi, I'm Dr. John Gray, author of Men Are From Mars, Women Are From Venus. And I'm here with Dr. Adelson at his clinic here in Utah. And we're dressed like this because he's about to do a treatment on me. It's a full body stem cell treatment. I've been to everybody about it, and the pain's still there. It's gotten a little better. But my friend, since I've done the treatment, what I noticed this first thing was posture. I might have grown an inch just in terms of my body straightening up. As a writer, you kind of go forward like this. And you know, I can think to do this, but what I find is I'm doing this automatically. The pain dramatically went down. I'm going to the gym, I'm doing more walking, I'm enjoying my body because I feel like I'm getting a bigger response. All of my muscles are getting stronger. It's like I took steroids, but they're not steroids. Like a feeling of Superman. It's quite amazing to me. Hi, I'm Dr. John Gray, the author of Men Are From Mars, Women Are From Venus. It's a pleasure.
I've been welding for about 40 years. And we work 7 days a week. I know I worked the first 13 years on my own. I didn't take a day off, and it takes its toll.
We get a lot of ranchers, farmers, oil field workers, cowboys, just people who have exceeded the terms of their warranty. These are people who have worked very hard over a period of many years and have not taken any rest days. These people have arthritis through their entire bodies.
I was chewing 6 Motrin a day just to get through the day. I could be walking across the shop to go work on a unit and my legs would give out. Most of my whole spine and lower lumbars were just wore out. Cushions were gone and the pain was just 24/7.
My husband broke his back 27 years ago. We spoke to Harry, in depth about Bill's individual situation and that, and he basically, answered any of our questions thoroughly. And we're always been looking for pioneering ways to help people with health and wellness, and this resonated as being a really good way to go.
I had a lot of things wrong with me. So I had issues with my knees, my hips, both were a problem. I had one shoulder that was particularly bad. They were both not good, but one was particularly bad. I hadn't been able to get my hand up past them. Well, maybe here. Before I went to see Harry, I could walk about a quarter of a mile, and I like walking. After seeing Harry, I could do 5 miles, so that was a really nice improvement.
And it was so funny because we were sitting watching TV, and men have a tendency to feel their whiskers. And he was rubbing his face, and I looked at him and he said, I haven't felt my whiskers for the longest time. I've got my husband back, and I couldn't ask for anything more.
When I first went to see Harry, my pain would probably been an 8 or plus out of 10. Now I'm guessing I'm more like a 2 out of 10, which for me, that's like amazing. Like I figured I was stuck with the 8 forever. I really did.
You live with pain long enough, and when the day you don't have pain, it's life-changing.
Dr. Adelson, what sets him apart from other practitioners, I think, is his deep desire to really help.
We're going to treat the area of most concern to you, which is your neck, but while we're at it, we're going to treat all the moving parts of your musculoskeletal system. And over the years, I've sort of developed the reputation as the guy who does these big treatments. And what I found is when we treat multiple areas, even the whole body in a single sitting, it does not seem to weaken the effect on the area of primary concern.
Oh, I would think it would support it, absolutely.
Yes,
that's the whole idea. If you focus on one thing, get everything else to support it as well.
That's been my experience.
Hey, I'm Dave Asprey, founder of Bulletproof. People call me the father of biohacking, which is really cool. And today I'm going to go deep with you on stem cells. I'm actually going to show you what it's like when I get stem cells. And when I say get stem cells, I mean I'm the first person in the world to do this extensive of a procedure to pretty much every part of my body that can get stem cells.
I first really learned of Dave Asprey and his work in 2015, and I went to his conference and just immediately resonated with Dave and his message.
If one of my clients said I might be able to, I would look him in the eye or her and I would say, weasel words. I do this to my team all the time at Bulletproof. And a weasel word means that you were using a word that your nervous system believed that made you weak. Because might be able to is very different than will or won't, which are the two active words there. You either are going to do it, you are not going to do it, you might plan to do it, you might think about doing it, but if you wonder if you're able to or not, you've already lost.
His concept of seeking simplicity rather than seeking complexity, that really makes sense to me.
That's the difference that 15 years and a path of spiritual awareness, self-awareness that is data-driven can lead you. I don't look the same, I don't act the same, I don't think the same, I don't talk the same, and the way I interact with the world is fundamentally different.
I've run an anti-aging nonprofit group for 20 years in Silicon Valley, and even my company Bulletproof has been about pushing human limits and understanding what you can do to perform at new levels.
I've had a chance to talk to the people doing the cutting edge work and become friends with them. I even lecture to 3,000 doctors at the American Academy of Anti-Aging Medicine. I don't have a medical degree. They just listen to me for some reason. I'm grateful for that. And these are smart people who are actual doctors. Just to be really clear, I'm a fantastic researcher and I'm an event correlation engine and I figure stuff out and I try it and it's pretty obvious if it works or not.
Along the way, I used to weigh 300 pounds. I had arthritis in my knees since I was 14, and I had chronic fatigue syndrome. My brain was just super foggy in my 20s.
And I've gone from a place of being relatively angry, defensive, fearful person who was unaware that there was fear driving my behaviors, to someone who has a genuine desire to help people, and someone who has, and this is a technical engineering term from Silicon Valley, an open heart.
I have a screw in my right knee. I've had 3 knee surgeries before I was 24, and I experienced a lifetime of joint pain.
I sort of put out the word to treat him and was able to get through to him, and he ended up coming to my clinic.
Part of my path has been to find the world's best people. The people who are pioneers in a field, those are the ones that you learn from. Those are the people you want to get to know. When Harry reached out and I did my diligence, I said, oh, wait a minute. There aren't very many people who are doing stem cells and have been doing them for this long in the United States. I really like the ability to be in the US and go do cutting edge treatments. So I went to see Harry.
Hey, I'm here at Docere Medical Clinics, Docere if you like the Latin form, with Dr. Harry Adelson, who just spent a whole day getting stem cells from my body, various places, and putting them back in.
Yeah, this is positively groundbreaking. This procedure is actually, we're calling it a 6 hands full body stem cell makeover, because in addition to me and Dr. Killen, we have here Dr. Marcela Madera, neurosurgeon, who's going to do some very specialty procedures with the spine.
I did the epidural injections in his spine, as well as the intrathecal injection. Harry did the spinal soft tissue ligament and joint injections.
This is aspirating the bone marrow, so we're going to do 300 cc's per side, which is a relatively large volume. It's slightly over ½ a liter. 10 of these. What this is, anesthesiologist puts you to sleep. We take a large volume of bone marrow stem cells. We're going to borrow these stem cells from his bone marrow. We're going to supplement them with exosomes, and then we're going to distribute them evenly throughout his entire body. We inject the entire spine from the base of the skull down to the tailbone at every level on both sides. We then flip you face up, inject both shoulders, elbows, wrists, hands, hips, knees, ankles, feet. We inject all the moving parts in a single sitting. My anesthesiologist is great, and you're sleeping through the whole thing.
The 3 of us, the 6 hands, of doing different parts of the body. Amy's focus is cosmetic and sexual health.
I do primarily skin rejuvenation, hair restoration, and sexual optimization. So I say kind of my focus is kind of skin and sex. For skin, I'm doing treatments on usually the face and neck, those kind of areas where we're trying to increase the collagen production and elastin production and all the things that keep your skin youthful. For hair restoration, I'm actually injecting and applying growth factors and stem cells and platelets to try to change the hair cycle so that you spend more time in the growth phase, which is when you have that beautiful, active, long hair, and less time in the telogen phase or the resting phase. So I treat men and women who are having some kind of sexual problem, or they just want to have a better sexual experience. So for men, I treat erectile dysfunction, I treat Peyronie's disease, and I also just treat men who just kind of want to have better erections, firmer erections, better sensation, things like that. For women, I'm treating women who have either dysfunction or, again, they just kind of want to have a better experience. So we can improve things like pleasure and sensitivity and tightness and lubrication and all that kind of stuff.
One of the things that we all picture when we're old is monitors, tubes, wheelchairs, retirement homes, ultimately forgetting your own name. And this picture of aging is wrong. That is not what the future is going to look like for aging. The reason that I did the whole body stem cell makeover is that I reject that outright, and I would like to have a fully functioning brain when I'm 100 and 120. And I think it's possible based on science. And I would like to have a body that works and doesn't require me to walk around with assistance. And there's nothing wrong if that's where I end up, but if I can do something that makes it more likely that I'm going to be vibrant and youthful and full of energy mentally as well as physically at very advanced old age, doing this now to prevent problems is a lot better than waiting until I've taken all the hits, until the damage has happened, and then trying to reverse it.
Dave Asprey. And Dave, you came to me 1 year ago. If you had to pick a percentage improvement, what would you say you had?
I'd say that it's like 90% better.
That's fantastic.
And I've had a knee surgery, actually 3 knee surgeries. I had arthritis in my knee since I was 14. And my knee, it just feels tighter, more stable, and I don't really have knee pain. So it's pretty cool.
I think it's important to note that even if you're doing all the things right as far as trying to age gracefully and eating well and exercising and all of these things, you still will be losing stem cell activity with age. So your stem cells, the ones you have in your body, become less active, they become less functional, and in some areas of the body you actually have fewer stem cells. So, unfortunately that's part of aging. So what we're trying to do with this is actually, turn back the clock to a degree and replenish some of those stem cell stores.
Spine surgeons that I've talked to, the initial thought is, where's the data? And it's coming. I mean, that's the best answer we have. We have some, but it's not there yet. But when I go into more about the basic science of it and why I'm doing it and the data that I've extrapolated to the specific patients I've treated and how I've treated them and the results, it's very hard to ignore the results.
There was a landmark study that was performed a couple of years ago that showed that the administration of stem cells actually can reverse frailty associated with aging. So stem cell therapy is in fact the first proven anti-aging therapy.
You want to know the key to a long-term memory? Do this. Information combined with emotion becomes a long-term memory.
I just had my full body makeover about 48 hours ago, and so post that, so my face might be a little bit red. The inspiration was I have, the big one was I have a torn rotator cuff. I also did years of Aikido, which is all joints and big falls. One of the other reasons is because I had a traumatic brain injury when I was 5 years old. Led to a lot of severe learning challenges, and I think it's very important to take care of the hardware. I teach people the software on how to read faster, learn languages, remember people's names, focus and concentrate. One of the reasons why we're here, this ultimate adventure we're all on, is to be able to realize and reveal our fullest potential.
I think if there's one thing to take responsibility for, if there's one thing, be responsible for how you feel. Does that make sense? Because all learning is state dependent. All learning is state dependent.
And that includes biologically. And so we don't only want to live longer, we want to live better. And I want to be able to be there with my family and be vibrant. And so, a process like this that can not only add years to your life, but life to your years, that's priceless.
I'm an energy physician. I've traveled all over the world. I've worked with shamans. I've worked with great grandmasters. I've worked in a discipline for over 25 years back and forth to China, in which I brought back all these energy techniques for people to use. But what is it that stem cells do? It sort of is like a bio reset and gives you another chance to experience in your body an explosion of youth. And so I said, who wouldn't want to experience that? That would be great. And so that was the reason I went, My body was sort of sore because they have all these injection sites, but I noticed there was more flexibility and more calmness.
Well, we've done over 100 of them at this point, and we've found that it's very well received. People really like them. We've been doing them coming up on 2 years now. Overall, people say that it's almost like, the day after you get a terrific massage and your whole body feels invigorated. It's like that, but long lasting.
Hi, Vision. Hi, guys.
We get people from literally all over the world. So we ask people to plan on staying a minimum of 2 nights. Really, 3 nights is better. There's 2 hotels walking distance from our clinic. We like you to stay at those so we can be of help if you need us. Get here the day before. The day of your procedure, you don't eat or drink anything because we use sedation for all of our cases.
Then will I be gone the rest of the day? Will I wake up
typically,
at a certain time? What does
memory's
that look like?
pretty foggy for the first, hour to 2 hours after. Okay. Have you signed the consent just saying that it'll be a nice deep sedation? I'll be with you the whole time, take good care of you. Name there, signature, second line.
We have you come in the morning of your procedure. You have your procedure, you go blissfully to sleep. So we're getting ready to do Vishen's full body stem cell makeover. Vishen is a past patient of mine. We treated him 2.5 years ago. He had a sciatica and sort of a recent onset sciatica, leg pain, and sort of long-standing low back pain, and we successfully treated him for that.
So I flew all the way from Malaysia to Park City. What was really amazing is that within a few weeks, the sciatica pain was completely gone. My lower back pain completely gone. I believe it's been cured forever. And now I'm back here again. This time I'm getting a full body stem cell makeover.
So the first step, which we're doing right now, is aspirating a large volume of bone marrow. We're going to take that from the iliac crests, which are the largest flat bone in the body. The flat bones are filled with stem cells. Once we concentrate the bone marrow, or to concentrate the stem cells, we're going to add in the exosomes. We're going to supplement with exosomes. And exosomes are the growth factors, the actual active ingredient of stem cells. And these exosomes are placental derived. Now we're putting stem cells into Vishen's spinal canal. The idea with this is that we're going to hopefully prevent spinal stenosis later in life. Yep, that's good. That's it. You wake up after your procedure, go back to your hotel room, have a meal, stay in your room, take it easy. The next day, come back in. We'll change the dressing for you. We like you to stay an additional night, just in case anything comes up, so we can be of help. Then usually by the third day, people are fine to travel.
I just finished this full body stem cell makeover. Can't wait to see the results. And I did it because I have a current knee problem that's been persistent for 12 months, and the doctor said stem cells are your best bet. So I wanted to get one knee fixed, but Harry and Amy here decided to just fix everything. So what this means, so if I don't have current pain in my elbows or my joints, does this prevent future pain? Is that the theory?
Well, we can't say that with certainty, but we believe that that's the case.
I see.
Because there's more and more data showing that stem cell therapy can actually reverse the pain associated with joint pain.
Right.
So by that model, if you're progressing towards having arthritis, hopefully this is going to turn back the hands of time.
And I wanted you guys who are watching to know that medical science is amazing and these type of technologies are now available. How many people in the world have had a full body stem cell?
The greatest advancements in medicine really don't do anybody good if they can't afford it. And currently, stem cell medicine is not covered by insurance. And my belief is it probably never will be. The other way that I'm looking to contribute to this field is at the opposite end of the spectrum. In 2016, we had this gangbuster year, this record year of doing procedures. And the last quarter of 2016, I remember I was really exhausted. And I thought it was, just because I was tired. I thought because I was working hard. Well, then on Christmas Eve, 2016, my wife asked me a question, and I had lost the ability to speak. And she rushed me to the hospital. And the right side of my body, including my injecting hand, had become completely paralyzed. And it took several days to figure out why I was having strokes. And on day 3, the surgeon burst into my room, sat down on my bed, and said, well, the good news is we figured out why you keep having strokes. The bad news is you have a bacterial infection of your heart, and you need open heart surgery, valve replacement, in 2 weeks. And I was stunned. It just made no sense to me whatsoever.
It was very hard. It was scary. We didn't know what is coming. He had arrhythmias. He had all different complications. It was very scary, but you just hope for the best.
That really forced me to sort of evaluate everything. The real gift that I got from that experience was experiencing pain that ranks a 10 on a scale of 1 to 10. And to be honest, it didn't feel like a gift at the time. It reminded me why I do what I do. It reminded me how getting people out of pain is the greatest gift imaginable. Living with pain is a curse.
Every Marine has kind of a quintessential I love Miwa, if you will. And so these are just some of the tokens of my service over here. Honorable discharge, different platoon photos. I served in the early 90s, Gulf War era veteran. Worked as a driver for a Humvee, worked as a nuclear biological chemical warfare decontamination NCO, and worked as a remedial fitness instructor during my time. I had several injuries that happened over the course of my time in the Marine Corps. The first one was in training during hand-to-hand combat where I was bent over backwards and hyperextended my spine. It affected my sleep greatly. I was up most nights in chronic pain. It affected my mood. The chronic pain would kind of act as a neural override where at my best attempt to be happy or upbeat, it would kind of shut that down. And it was a constant struggle to maintain being positive. In 2009, I started a nonprofit that helped other veterans and injured active duty military folks with various injuries, illnesses, and wounds, Warrior Wellness Solutions. And in 2010, I saw Dr. Mark Hyman give a talk on functional medicine.
Welcome to the Doctor's Pharmacy. I'm Dr. Mark Hyman.
So when I saw Dr. Mark Hyman going to a Siri clinic, I was like, okay, Dr. Mark Hyman can go to anybody he wants to. So if he's there, then that's the guy I need to check out. Economically, my chronic pain has suppressed me a lot, and I haven't been able to make a lot of money. And the nonprofit that I run survives on fumes of limited donations and very small grants. And so my goal was to put maybe 2 spots on a credit card for stem cells and try to pay it off over the course of some time. And so I went on the website and was clicking around, and then I saw a tab called Tithing Program.
Probably the most exciting development in Docere clinics over the last couple of years has been the development of our tithing program.
Where 1 day per month we offer stem cell treatment to people who otherwise couldn't afford it in exchange for documentation of community service hours or to combat service veterans.
They accepted me into the program, and I was like kind of in shock because I'm not used to being on the receiving end of anything in a pro bono status or being helped out. I can't express the amount of gratitude that I have. And they treated both hips, both SI joints, my entire spine, my facet joints on either side of my spine, both shoulders, and my cervical spine. So I'm 60 days out right now today from the actual treatment, and if everything goes well, I will have basically got a full torso regeneration. This is going to be a game changer for me because if at 46 years old I can get a second lease on life and go into the next decade or 2 or 3 feeling better than I felt in the previous 2 decades, I can't think of how much that's going to be a force multiplier in allowing me to have the energy and capacity to help out other veterans in the future. My range of motion in my neck was drastically different. I've never been able to look past maybe here, and I was able to look over my shoulder in just 2 short months. And that's double the range of motion.
Getting people out of pain is the greatest gift imaginable.
Which brings us back to Chris. 3.5 years ago, I aspirated bone marrow from Chris's iliac crest. We concentrated the stem cells. I injected them into his L4, L5 intervertebral disc, into his epidural space, and into the facet joints and ligaments of his low back.
Harry said, I'm not promising you anything. This is a newer form of treatment. You're a great candidate from my perspective, given the imagery I have and how you sustain the injury and your age.
2 months later, Chris reported a 90% improvement in his pain that continues today.
I can't imagine what my life would be like today if it wasn't for him.
I saw him last month. He came to the clinic because he injured his knee during a jiu-jitsu competition that he had won. Chris is among the over 2,000 patients I've treated with their own stem cells over the last 6 years. If you're living with pain and you want stem cells injected into the problem area, don't take no for an answer. You can do it today, legally, in the United States.
When we all took oaths to do no harm, Some of us took it real seriously and some of us went off to the deep end. I know a lot of guys that over-treat, overcut, are just doing too many procedures. Look, they got a couple ex-wives and they got, bills to pay, and I understand it's a business, but this is not supposed to be a business. Like, we're all stuck having to make a living, but we're here to help people. And so when you're looking for a doctor, Harry's the guy.
I'm really excited to see where this technology goes from here. And I know that Harry is on the cutting edge of that. So it's just fascinating to me.
I was skeptical going in, to be clear. Had my concerns walking in. And I have to say his technique was what I would expect of myself in an operating room. I have sent patients to him. I've sent patients who had, degenerative discs to him or facet degenerative problems to him. I've sent physicians to him who were patients and friends because having watched him, I feel like he knows when to do things and when to hold back. I truly believe patients are consumers and patients should have the right to choose safe treatments.
The safest way to be a doctor are these 4 words: more research is needed. So if you are the safest doctor working under the control of an insurance company, there's something called the standard of care. It was apparently written in about the 1970s, and it says if you do anything other than these procedures, which most of them don't work that well, you put yourself at greater risk. So the most innovative, most creative, most impactful healers on the planet, they're taking risks because they care so much about being healers and so much about their patients' health. And so a lot of doctors are saying, I'm afraid. They're not saying it doesn't work, but they'll say, more research is needed. And they're saying that out of fear and out of skepticism.
Medical school, I don't think we learned anything about stem cells other than embryonic stem cells, which that's not even a use in regenerative treatment. I didn't learn anything about physical therapy in residency or chiropractic or any of the non-invasive modalities, and that's why I think surgery is quite overused in our country.
There's a quote by a German philosopher that reads, "All truth passes through 3 stages. First, it's ridiculed. Second, it's violently opposed. Third, it's accepted as being self-evident." I find myself squarely in the second stage, both as far as the industry and personally.
It's easy to forget why we do things. And I think I went through a period where I thought the success of my clinic was about me. And it has nothing to do with me. It's about these fantastic people that walk through my doors and whose lives have been negatively impacted by pain, and I can help change that.